Good morning. Welcome back to ExPat InSights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Here at ExPat InSights, we take external views of internal successes. Tonight, this morning, we are doing jazzing up the stage with two jazz artists. One uses an instrument and another does not. His name is Ted Lerner. He lives in Angeles. Am I right, Ted? Ted? And he's a writer, and he's also an MC host. He'll tell you. So, Ted, tell us about what you do in the Philippines.
Well, you mentioned it there, writer and host. I'm a professional boxing ring announcer, but I also do a lot of hosting. But that's one of the main things I've done, and where I've really sort of learned the craft of hosting was through boxing ring announcing.
Gosh, so you're the guy standing between Manny Pacquiao and all his opponents.
Well,
and you're the guy who shouts out his name.
I used to be.
Yeah.
Because I did a lot of Manny's early fights here in the Philippines when he was just coming up. But now that he's going on to, everything, he fights in the States all the time. So that's another guy.
All right, let's not talk about him. He's got a lot of money now. No? Let's talk about you. Tell us a bit about your life in the Philippines. What do you find fun in the Philippines? What's more fun for you?
Well, I just find daily life here in the Philippines is fun. I try to look at the details of life here in the Philippines, and I pay attention to even everyday characters walking around our neighborhood. I can say this: I've been here 18 years, and I'm an American, and I came here willingly. I didn't come here as a part of a company or whatever.
You were not kidnapped. You were not shanghaied.
No, I chose to live here, and my wife and I have a beautiful 16-year-old daughter who's actually now studying in the States. But
just
anyway,
just one child?
Just one, yes. And but I think the thing for me in the Philippines that always attracted me was how daily life is never the same.
Is it? Is it? I've been here 32 years, and I can tell you day one and last day is the same for me. It's
same every day?
Same old barbecue.
Well, the weather may be the same, and the temperature seems to be the same, but there's always a surprise, and there's always an interesting person or something funny or incredible happening. And I tend to, coming from an American upbringing, I've been growing up in the suburbs in good schools, and I was thankful for all that, but I would say that I tended to get a little bored in America.
You did, really?
Yes,
yeah.
And I found when I came here...
You must have been in one of those hillbilly farms up there where it's very boring.
No.
Not in the city.
No, the suburbs. The
okay,
suburbs. Yeah. That's where you tend to get a little numb in the suburbs, where you sort of have to drive everywhere, and there's shopping malls, and every suburb looks the same as the last one you were at, So over here, I can say in the 18 years that I've been in the Philippines, I have never lived in a gated subdivision.
No.
We have never had a security guard guarding us, so I've always lived amongst the people, and I just love the colorful characters that come roaming through your neighborhood every day, and I just think that makes life very interesting.
Good. So you are really happy. You're the ultimate tourist in the Philippines. Totally
sort of,
happy,
and that helps. That really helps my...
We caught you on camera one time. That's
you?
Me? 18 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the lovely missus out there, right?
Yeah. But that's something that helps me in my writing. Is to be able to appreciate sort of the daily activities of just ordinary life that even Filipinos don't notice.
For example, give me a story.
Well, I mean, now we're talking about my writing part of my life, which also I think ties into what I do in sports and ring announcing and being an MC, because I really believe that writing is the basis of just about everything, the foundation. But there's you could find stories in there. For example, there's a whole story about
let me flash this.
Yes.
People who are watching this show on TV because they don't see it.
Okay.
So TedLerner.com, of course, .com follows everyone nowadays, has two books. One's called Hey Joe. One's called Hey Joe. So this is where the term Hey Joe started from, his book.
Yes.
And this he wrote 10 years ago?
Yeah, that was about 2000, yeah.
2000, and this is his second book. It's called The Traveler Gate Checkers.
And the Gate Checkers.
Gate Checkers. So for several years, he was a columnist at
Business
World. No?
Business World, that's right.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like certain stories. Like there's a story in Hey Joe about Boy the Balut Man. And I wrote a whole story about
the balut man?
Yeah, about a balut vendor in the Ermita area.
Boy the man.
And it was a story about how I first ate balut here in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I described him and what he did, and I interviewed him, and I found out about his life. And I noticed that Filipinos don't normally, you know, have daily conversations about the balut vendor, but I find these characters all to be very interesting.
Yeah, they
They make up your life. I mean, you could be sitting at home in the Philippines, and there's always, every evening, at about 5:30, 6 o'clock, going way deep into the night, there's always the sound of some guy going, balut. Nobody notices it.
Or taho.
I notice
Or
it.
taho. Or taho.
But that's in the morning.
Taho. But evenings too? No? No taho in the evenings in your subdivisions?
No, well, generally, it's, yeah, that's was
Yeah,
early
only
morning.
mornings. You're right. I stand corrected.
Or the, you know, the puto cuchinta vendor, you know,
Puto
with
bumbong,
the little horn and stuff. I mean, I just think,
Boom, boom.
see, in America, where I grew up in the suburbs, peddling is a crime.
It is.
It's a crime. But here, it's part of daily life.
I thought the craft guy, the guy who came up with craft cheese, was a peddler.
Well, back in the day, it was
back in the day, not anymore.
You could be a peddler. You could boil some eggs and go out and sell them, but not anymore. You need a license.
Right.
So this is part of what I like about life in the Philippines. It's sort of a little bit old-fashioned. It's a bit old school, and it's a little bit more colorful.
You should be recruited by the Department of Tourism. You'll make a great commercial.
Well, some of the stuff in there they may not want to.
Aside from that, you know, you're the ideal tourist.
Well, in a way, yeah, I can appreciate that stuff, like riding in a jeepney. One time I rode in a jeepney. There's a story in there just about riding in this particular jeepney.
Tell me.
Where the jeepney driver, it was in Parañaque, on a Friday night. I hopped in a jeepney. I think I was with my wife. We were going to a restaurant or a bar or something like that, and we just hopped in this jeepney, and the driver was stuck. We were stuck in traffic, and he was singing to Nat King Cole. He had Nat King Cole on the radio, and
Never-ending love. No.
He was singing along, and he had the most beautiful voice, and his wife was sitting next to him, and with her head on his shoulder. And it was just a great scene. I just wrote an entire story about that one moment.
Wow.
So these are things that most Filipinos wouldn't even notice. You know, so I enjoy that sort of nitty-gritty life here in the Philippines.
Let me ask you. You know, I really want to ask you about writing and hosting, but let me finish Philippines because you're on a good topic and it's great for the Department of Tourism. No, the question is, you've done balut.
Yes.
You've done taho. You've done isao. Have you done
Isao.
isao? Right? Isao. That's
Isao
right.
is.
Isao is chicken liver on a stick, barbecued.
Oh, chicken liver.
Chicken
yeah,
intestines.
yeah.
Chicken intestines. I'm sorry.
Oh no, not the intestines. No, the accordion. They call it. Filipinos refer to it as an accordion.
Accordion.
Yeah.
You've not done that.
No, I don't do
You still
that.
continue to do balut.
No, I don't eat balut. Occasionally, my wife will flag the guy down when she hears him, and I might eat the white part, but not the bird, not the duck.
Not the bird.
That's not my
Not the
style.
baby there.
Nah, I try to eat a little healthier than that.
Okay, now let's talk about jazzing up the stage. And
Okay.
you are the king of stage. I mean, you are the king of the ring. Between the two boxes, you're also a professional host and an MC, no?
Yes.
And I want to know a lot about this. My audience wants to know a lot about this. So tell us about how do you go about being a masterful host? How do you take a whole event and you become the king and the master of it? How do you do that?
First of all, I have to say that hosting and being a proper professional MC is perhaps one of the most underrated things in this life.
Is it?
It is. It's when it's good, people love it. When there isn't a proper host in an event, it can be a disaster for an event. And I think it's one of the most important parts of an event that isn't often appreciated by event organizers. Here in the Philippines, it's not that appreciated.
You're telling me that like an orchestra doesn't have a maestro, doesn't have a conductor?
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exact need, right?
That's exactly what a host is. That's a great analogy to call it as a maestro.
Yeah.
You're sort of the glue that brings an event together. You can have an event that has all different kinds of acts coming on stage, but if you don't have a proper MC,
somebody who doesn't
host,
link them up together.
right, and segues and can talk to the audience and bring them up and bring them down and bring them over this side and that side and give them all the emotions and everything and tie it all together,
You're right.
it's just not the same thing.
So not just the conductor, not just the maestro, but somebody who is the heart and the center, the soul of the whole, all the happenings.
Yes,
all
you
the
set the tone. You
Yeah.
set the tone. I'll give you
Right.
in boxing.
Yeah.
You might find if your guy doesn't know what he's doing in boxing, every fight he'll shout the guy's names
Manny Pacquiao, yeah.
from the beginning fight,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is completely wrong. You want to build up an event. You have to start.
Right.
Yeah, the first fight of the evening, the 4-rounders, are not as exciting as the main event. You cannot be shouting right from the start and trying to get people excited. It's about modulating your voice. You got to start low. You have to look people directly in the eye. That's something I've always learned. I'm sure
Yeah.
you know about that when you do
Yeah.
your speaking.
Yeah,
You look
I need help there. I need help there. Yeah.
No, you don't. You're doing a very good job.
No.
But you make eye contact with people. You talk in a conversational tone of voice. You don't talk like this. That drives me nuts. You know?
Okay.
24 horas. You know how they do on the news here. That's not the way you do it. You talk like a normal human being, but you talk in an authoritative way. Even if you make a mistake, you run right over the mistake. You stand there. You have a nice posture. And you don't read off of cue cards. I do, when I announce, have my little note cards, but they're just notes. I'm looking at people as I talk, going around.
You're analyzing the transactions.
Yes.
You're watching what's happening. Are you getting
Yes.
through? Are they happy? Do they need more? Do they need less?
And you're listening to the crowd.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
they building up as you're talking? If they're not, like I did a fight a couple of weeks ago in Cebu,
Yeah.
the main event didn't seem to have quite the hype as the one before it because the boxer was more of a technical boxer. So I noticed that I had to bring down the level a little bit to fit the mood of the crowd. But in the previous fight, they were jacked up because the fighter it was like a brawl. So when I got in the ring to announce a decision, I really let it rip. And
Did you
they
ever,
loved
by
it.
any chance, host a cockfight?
Believe it or not.
You did?
Yeah. How do you know about that?
No, I'm
Where
just
is
guessing. I'm wondering if you did because that's almost
I am
like
probably
boxing.
the only person to ever
Only
ring announce
American.
a cockfight. No, ever. There is no such thing as a ring announcer at a cockfight. It was the strangest gig I ever did.
Okay.
The strangest gig. I mean, when you're standing in the ring,
Mhm.
going, and ladies and gentlemen, fighting out of the maroon corner to my left, weighing 1.5 kilos with the rust-colored feathers. I mean, that is...
That's it? 1.5 kilos?
Audience, 5,000 people had never seen this before, and I thought they were laughing at me. But turns out they enjoyed it, but who didn't enjoy it, we got a lot of complaints from the owners because I was giving away the bloodline, and the owners didn't want to expose the bloodlines. So they never hired me again, and I was glad. I didn't want to go back and do that.
How about business hosting? About events, little commercial events, corporate events, etc.?
I don't do a lot of that. I would actually like to do more of that. Here in the Philippines, they tend to get whether actresses, it seems like,
Because
or
they're popular, just because
or pretty boys maybe, like model kind of guys, and you'll notice a lot of people when they do hosting here, they would have like the cards and they're reading directly off a script, which is as you know, is the worst thing. It's a serious no-no.
It creates a major
hosting,
divide, yeah.
in speaking, in public speaking. You just want to use your notes as a guide.
As a cue.
Yes.
As a cue.
Yes.
So besides boxing, besides rooster fighting, what other events have you done? I mean, what other...
Pool tournaments. I'm
Right.
a lot of pool tournaments. I've done like here in Manila, the MMQ Theater Cabaret, which you know about. You had
Michelle
them on your
Washington
show.
and
Michelle
Marie
Washington.
Moya, yeah.
Yeah, I've been the regular host. I wasn't able to do it this year because I was doing a writing gig in China. But yeah, I do that, and a lot of boxing over there. I've been to some of the most remote corners of the Philippines doing boxing announcing. Some really interesting places.
Your peak moment, your best boxing event where you were king of stage and you went through the third eye thing that Michael Young was talking
there
about.
was two of them. One was I did a Manny Pacquiao fight at the Luneta in front of 100,000 people.
When was this?
This was about 8 years ago. He fought when he was
100,000
on his way up.
people?
Yeah, he
Luneta?
fought a Kazakhstan fighter, and it was put on for free.
Luneta?
In the Luneta
100,000
Park.
people, okay. So the sounds, the acoustics must have been a big challenge there.
Very big challenge, yeah. You sort of, because that's the other thing. They never put speakers there for you so you can hear your voice, and it's very hard to, you know, get it right. But you just go for it. Once they say go, you go, and that's it. So that was pretty exciting to be, you know, in front of 100,000 people and all going crazy and capturing. What I like about the announcing thing is, like, you capture the moment. You define the moment.
You somehow pump up the energy, you participation.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
You capture it in a bottle right there, and you're standing there for that one moment in time. Everybody's focused on you.
Yeah.
And there's something about these two gladiators standing in the ring, and you bring it all to fruition right there. So that's always fun. Now, the other one I can remember was down way in southern Mindanao, somewhere in Davao del Sur.
Where's that? Okay.
Mati Davao.
All right.
When we went there, the local mayor there invited us down, a promoter from Manila. And so
boxing too.
Boxing, yeah. It was one of the well-known Filipino boxers, Rubilar, was from Mati Davao. So they had him down in this town to fight, and they put on a big promotion. And this was 3.5 hours south of Davao. So you're in, this is really remote country down there, okay? And when we got to the town, the mayor said, I said, how's everything in the town? It's a small town. He says, well, he says, the MILF is, we have a few problems with them and the NPA up in the mountains. I said, really? He said, don't worry about it. He says, they're just like everyone else. They just, you know. He says, and by the way, all of them will be at the fight. They will? He says, yeah, but you won't know who they are because they dress like you and me.
You didn't get shot down or anything.
They come out of the mountains and put on normal clothes because they want to see the fights. Okay? So I'm standing up there in this gymnasium with 5,000 people packed into this gymnasium. Of course, they had the Army guys there with the rifles and everything to remind you that there is a bit of safety issues, you know. Okay? But I'm standing in there. I'm standing in the ring.
Yeah.
And this was an out-of-body experience, as Michael described. And as I was talking, going, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm looking around as I do, because I told you I like to look people in the eye.
You want to duck if you
No, I'm sitting there going, how in the world did I end up here? An East Coast Jewish boy.
Jewish?
Yeah,
Okay.
from East Coast United States, end up, and everybody, 5,000 people, including rebels out of the mountains or wherever, are focused on me and all quiet and listening to me. And I have total control of them. Unbelievable.
We're glad you're here, and I'm sure the Jewish community is happy that you're still alive. And
my mother's going, oi, Vesmir, you know, she doesn't want to know that. She's not going, Ainako, she's going, oi,
stop. I want to know about hosting. Tell me, how do you handle, two questions, right? Number one is, how do you host an event as crazy, as big as MMQ? What does it take for you in terms of how you prepare and how do you really achieve success? What's the process? MMQ is a 2 or 3 day event which was featured here,
I love the MMQ. It's,
how do you go about it? I mean, it's crazy out there.
Well, you sort of just dive in, and again, you're expected to be the glue that holds everything together. And so
the preparation part. How do you go? Well, how much homework do you do?
Well, you got to know who the acts are. Again, it's like in boxing. You got to know who you're talking about. You got to know where they came from. You got to know who the acts are. You got to know, talk to the director, like Michelle at the MMQ. What do you want? Do you want it down at this point? Do you want me to shout at this point? Do you want me to laugh? Can I tell some jokes? Can I go out into the audience? You got to ask all the questions. You got to do your homework, just like in any endeavor. You can't just come in and expect to know everything. So you got to know exactly all your cues. You got to be well prepared. Have a few jokes lined up. Know who the audience is. Tough crowd when you come in.
I remember you came by and we shook hands last year.
Yes.
I did. Now I do, because when you talk about coming up to the audience and getting to know them, you came up to me and we shook hands. I do remember you walking about the whole thing. There were what, 200 people, 300 people there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And again, sometimes if I'm
What's the value behind that? I mean, when you get to know me, how do you weave that into your spiel, into your being a compeer? How do you do that?
Well, because if I meet you out in the lobby while you're having cocktails and talking to everyone else, and then they sort of personally get to know me, they're more involved in the show. Right. Because otherwise, it's very hard to get an audience under control who's been drinking. And toughest thing in the world is to come off a cocktail hour and to quiet down 300 people.
So these you pick up little snippets of conversations and then put them into the spiel? Do you do that,
Absolutely.
yeah?
You see who's in the audience, you might want to mention certain things. If you see the French ambassador or something like that, you want to make sure you compliment the wine. And I don't know,
Because it's sponsored, yeah?
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, yeah, and you got to make everybody feel good, right? If somebody sponsored the wine, a company,
You've got to
make
give them
sure
credit,
to throw them in. You got to throw them in, and that's another good one right there. Good point.
Yeah.
Always make sure, not just look people in the eye, mention people's specific names.
Right.
Look out over in that side of the audience. Look over there and bring people in. And by the end of the night, you got them eating out of the palm of your hand.
It creates endearment. It kind of creates a relationship.
Yeah, so if you have the whole night you're just reading off of cue cards, boring.
Yeah. Ted, how does being a writer help you in hosting? What do you do here that kind of you can use the skills from here into hosting? Can we wrap up with that? Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever you write something down,
yeah,
when you get up and have to say it, it's much more readily available to you to come to your lips, if you had written it down beforehand or some version of it.
But you don't read the stuff, no? But just being a writer, like bleeding and sweating in the profession of writing helps you being a host?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I do the boxing a few weeks ago in Cebu, I write everything down. I write, all the things I might want to say. Don't necessarily say them all. So being a writer, being able to formulate your words properly and think and write it down helps you to speak for sure. It is the foundation of everything. Writing is what I've always been a good talker my whole life, but writing was something I had to train myself to do.
And you consider writing a much more powerful discipline than hosting?
I think they're both have their merits, but I think writing to me, writing is like an honor to do. Writing is a real art. I mean, it's something that I put a lot of effort into. I don't even a press release I'll read over 100 times if somebody asks me to write it, just to make sure it sings. I consider writing a column to be like writing a piece of music, which, like Michael would write a piece of music.
Yeah.
A column to me is something like a story is like a piece of music. It's like
Ted, thank you very much. Yeah.
Raju, thank you.
And before you wrap up, tell me what the future holds for Ted Lerner in the Philippines. What do you see in your mind's eye for yourself?
I'm just looking for more opportunity. I hope more and more people could appreciate
This country.
This country, but as far as what I do, I'd love to have more opportunities to do hosting in all kinds of different venues, not just boxing or billiards or sports.
Come and host a show here.
I'd love to do more of that. Yes, absolutely. So I'm just always looking for opportunities. I think this is the land of opportunity. You just have to have a smile on your face.
There you go.
And learn to relax.
Gracias, señores. Mabuhay. God bless
you.
it. Thank you for the laughter. Thank you for the insights on hosting. And keep jazzing up the stage of the world.
I'll try. Thank you, Raju.
So that was Ted Lerner, and thank you for watching ExPat InSights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Next week on ExPat InSights, we have Jonathan Dean Thorpe and Chef Philip Golding. We'll talk about cooking in the Philippines. Thank you for watching. Good night and mabuhay. I'd like to also tell you that in November, we will have Brian Tracy here, and he'll talk about doubling your business and doubling your profits. So look forward to this in November on ExPat InSights. Good night and mabuhay. Good night and mabuhay. Good night and mabuhay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raju.